This is motivation at its finest. When you take away the stress and the pressure of the big picture and you just break things down to simple steps, beginning with just shooting for 1% better that particular day. Hi, I'm Paige Killian, and I'm passionate about helping busy moms of littles get organized in 3 simple steps. So here's today's organization motivation. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me again for another episode of the Mom's Organization Motivation Podcast. The 1% rule. It is basically where you focus on making 1% improvements toward whatever you're wanting to do. So, a lot of times people at the very beginning of the year, they say, okay, I'm going to, go to the gym and lose weight. Like, this is what I want to do. Well, even in that scenario, I just said, go to the gym. Well, that could be something that you're wanting to do to move that forward in losing weight. Or perhaps it's not even a losing weight thing for you. You just want to get healthier. You want to get your heart rate up. You want to physically be moving your body. Okay. I hear that. I think that's great. Absolutely do it. Well, what happens if you haven't even made it to the gym? Or what happens if you haven't even started your workouts at home, if perhaps that's what you're wanting to do? Then do you just feel deflated? And do you feel like it was all for nothing? I don't want you to feel that way. And using this example, if we apply that 1% rule, I will tell you that a lot of times it takes the stress and the frustration in playing that whole scenario out completely. It takes that away. Because if you're just focused on sort of the next step in just like a little baby tiny increment, you inevitably do even more than that. When you are focused on the whole scope of something and you're focused on your big, huge outcome and you're not breaking it down into little bite-sized steps that are a little bit more digestible and achievable, you get overwhelmed, you get stressed out. And a lot of times you don't even get started. So I'm going to share with you some different examples and where I have actually used the 1% rule, applying it to my life. So I mentioned actually writing a book. And the reason I brought that up is because this is an area where I have actually used the 1% rule in helping me move forward in writing this book that I was working on pre-pandemic. One of the things that I had to tell myself to get motivated to do it, because it was quite the daunting process, was open your laptop page. That was my 1% in getting the ball rolling on working on this book. Instead of thinking, I've got to write 5,000 words today, I've got to write 1,500 words in the next few hours. Instead of focusing on that and that becoming overwhelming and stressful, which it absolutely could, especially if you're having that writer's block moment, I thought, I'm just going to shoot for 1% better. What am I going to do to move the ball forward? I'm going to sit down and open my laptop. And I know that might sound completely silly. And how do you get a book written in that way? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, I was obviously writing it on my laptop. So that's where that whole thing came from. Instead of me feeling like I had this word limit that I needed to hit for the day, well, a lot of times I couldn't even really get motivated to do it if a lot of things were going on at home or I was having to juggle other work stuff. And so I decided to just focus on opening my laptop, because every time I focused on doing just that one tiny little thing, opening my laptop, I would then go to my Word document and I would start typing something. And it took the stress and the pressure away from having to perform in this big, huge way. And for me, every time I just said, I'm just going to sit down and open my laptop, I would get done more in that amount of time than I would have had I just said, you know what, I don't have time to get that many words typed right now, or I am not in a mental brain space to be able to do this right now. I'm just going to put it off. Well, that gets us nowhere. So that was something that was super helpful for me when writing my book. And guess what? The book got written. This is motivation at its finest. When you take away the stress and the pressure of the big picture and you just break things down to simple steps, beginning with just shooting for 1% better that particular day. So, what is another way that we could apply the 1% rule to our life? Well, let's say maybe your big thing is this year your kids are going to school and you have to pack snacks and lunches. And that feels super frustrating because you don't really know what to pack and your kids kind of go back and forth on what it is they want to eat these days. So, okay, how could we get 1% better on that today? How about you sit down and you have a conversation with your kids about what might be something that would make them happy if they opened up their lunch bag? Now, be prepared because they might be like, ooh, gummy bears and Fritos, whatever. Okay, take that note and say, I hear you. You'd like a little treat and you'd like something crunchy in your lunch, whatever, however you need to spin it as a mom. Okay. And then you'll say, great. So then let me know some sort of fruit, some sort of veggie, some sort of protein that I can add into your lunch so that you are getting a great meal that you're going to be excited to open up. Right. So I would say that too is even way better than 1% better because you're already starting the conversation. You're giving your kids the opportunity to be included in the plan, and you're sharing with them too what's important to you, which is for them to have a well-balanced meal, but you're also taking into consideration what it is that they want. So there's going to be a much higher and likelier chance that they're going to eat it and waste less, right? If you're each sort of in communication about this. So that's something to consider as well. Once you get through that 1% better, then you go to the grocery store that day, or even before that, you make a list. After you get to the grocery store and you come home with these things, maybe the fun thing to do is to find some cute little containers so they'll get excited about it. Does it make sense to get a brand new lunchbox or a bento box? Or does it make sense to make it super easy and have things just in little baggies? And that's something that you want to do. That's where you guys get to choose. What is your next step? What is going to be a way that you're going to simplify these things and you're just going to shoot for 1% better? How about tackling a bedtime routine? All right, when you're thinking about your kiddos going to bed, first thing you want to do is note the time, and you need to think about their age and what's going to be the most appropriate. Okay, so as you're thinking, what would be an ideal time? Then you want to start to backtrack and decide, okay, well, if I want them in bed at this time, what are the things that they need to do before that in order to get into bed at that time? Then you want to be backtracking before even that and think, okay, how can we be preparing for the day ahead of us by like laying clothes out? Maybe you want to have that lunch packed and put away, all that kind of stuff. So really in the backtracking comes where you'll decide, how do we shoot for 1% better? Instead of being like, we need a whole new bedtime routine because the one we have isn't working and it's super stressful and frustrating because there's fights at night and there's this and that and whatever. Start to backtrack, start to think about what you want to accomplish, and then just think, what's 1% closer to this that I could get? Talk to your children about this. Maybe that's the 1% that you need to shoot for that day. So there are lots of ways that you can use this 1% rule, but the whole point is so that you're not getting so stuck in the overwhelm and stress that you don't even begin. Think about what your 1% better is and go for it. Do not delay in adding the 1% rule to your life. It is very helpful. It keeps you from allowing that paralysis by analysis to set in. And it makes you feel like you're actually tackling things and even faster than you imagined. Because sometimes instead of just letting things sit, if you feel like, okay, I'm just going to shoot for 1% better, and then suddenly you've done even more than that, then you can be like, wow, okay, so I accomplished even more than I was expecting. So this is awesome. These are the kinds of things that will start encouraging you and giving you confidence about pursuing more and more. What is something that I could do that is going to get me 1% closer to that goal? I'm going to shoot for 1% better today. And I promise you, you're going to do even more than that. Okay, 1% is like minuscule. Very little. You are absolutely going to be setting yourself up for the chance of success in that because you're not taking on something that's terribly overwhelming. So for sure, add the 1% rule to your life. Talk to your kids about it. Maybe they're feeling super stressed and overwhelmed. Talk to your friends, talk to your spouse, and just let people know that if you are trying to accomplish these big, huge things, and that is feeling all kinds of overwhelming, Just think about a way you could get 1% better for that day. That is going to feel like an accomplishment in itself. Hey, thanks for watching this video. For more resources to organize and style your busy life in 3 simple steps, head over to everythingwithstyle.com and connect with me on Instagram at everythingwithstylemom. Don't forget to check out the Mom's Organization Motivation podcast over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of your favorite platforms. And if you loved this video, it would make me so happy if you would subscribe and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for watching, and happy organizing. I mentioned this in the past. So I mentioned actually writing a book.